welcome to today's class. Today we are going to look at addition and subtraction of sort. In our previous lesson, we did sort, just the single sort, but today we are going to look at addition and subtraction of sort. So now we are having some examples on the board. The first example says we should evaluate root or sort 32 plus 3 sort 8. So we are going to take the first solution. First one I have here is what? Sort 32 plus 3 sort 8. When you are given a question of sort, the first thing you have to do is to look for the two multiples. That when you times it, it will give you the number. But among those multiples, a particular one must have a square root. That is why it is called sort. Sort the same thing as square root. You can see the symbol. This is a symbol of square root. Eh? So now we are going to look at what are the numbers that when we multiply it will give us 32. 16 times 2 will give us 32. So I'm going to replace those two numbers with the 32, which is what? 16 times 2. Then plus the number that is outside, you bring it out. Then put your sort or your square root. What are the two numbers that when you multiply it, it will give you 8? But among those numbers, there must be a number that has a square root. So the number we are going to use is what? 4 times 2 to give us 8. So I'm going to put what? 4 times 2. The next thing you do now is to split each of them into their different sort. We have sort 16 times sort 2. You split each of them in the square root into their different square root or different sort. You go to the next one plus. You can see that this is outside, so you are going to write the one outside and put your times, because this is the same thing as times, 3 times. Are you getting me? So I'm using my dots here to represent times. Then I'll split each of these ones inside the square root to their difference, which was sort 4 times sort 2. So when you have done this, the next thing you do is to look for the ones that have square root. The square root of 16 will give us what? 4. So that is this 4, then to what? Sort 2. 4 times this. So we bring down your square root, which is 4, bring down the sort 2 or the square root of 2 closer to it, because the same thing as what? Times. Then we bring down your plus. We come to this one. I'm going to write this one out first. 3 dots. Square root of 4 will give us what? 2. Then put your sort 2 attached to it. Then now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring down my 4 sort 2 plus. Remember I told that this decimal for this point here is same thing as times. I don't want to use the times symbol. So this, when you see this dot, is represent times. So I'm going to times my 3 with the number that is outside. And so 3 times 2 will give us 6 to what? Sort 2. Now when you get to this stage, you find out that the two sorts have the same numbers. They have the same sort. So in that case, what we are going to do, the first we are going to bring out the outside numbers and add them. Remember we are on addition. We're going to say 4 plus 6 to give us what? 10 to what? Sort 2. So this is our answer. So I give any question on sort, mostly on addition. They are the same. Addition and subtraction are the same thing. The only difference is the sign. First thing you have to do is to look for those two numbers. That when you multiply it, it will give you that particular number you are given. But among those two numbers, there must be a particular one that has a square root. Must have a square root. When you have done that, after writing it, you are going to replace those two numbers with the number given. Just like factorization, where a particular number must have a factor of the question given to you. So the same thing applies here. The number you are using, a particular one must have a square root. So that's why we are using what? For 16 times 2. When you have replaced those two numbers with the question given to you, you are now going to split each of those numbers into their various square roots or their various sort. So that is why we are having sort 16 times sort 2. After you have done that, put your sign you have there. If it's minus, you are going to have minus here. But now we are on plus, so you are going to have plus here. The next thing you do, you bring out this outside number here. And because we are dealing on the sort first, we have changed the ones on the sort. We are going to bring out this number, which is this 3. Then you split each of these one inside this bracket, inside the square root, split each of them into their various sorts. So that is why we have a sort 4 times sort 2. Then when you have done that, the next thing is to look for the square root of each of them. The square root of 16 will give us what? 4 to what? Sort 2. This times is representing it, just like you having what? A times B is the same thing as what? A, B. You can see we attach the two together. So that's why we're attaching this 4 and sort 2 together, because that times represents what? Bringing them together. Then plus, we look at this, bring down your 3 first, put your decimal point, your dot first, then the square root of 4 will give us what? 2. then what? Sort 2. When you have done that, the next thing you are going to do, you are going to bring down this. Because of this times here, we have to times the two numbers. You bring down your first sort 2 plus 3 times 2 will give us what? 6. Then sort 2. Then next you are going to do, you are going to add the numbers that are outside, because the two sorts are having the same numbers. So when you have done that, you add 4 plus 6 to give us what? 10. Then since the two numbers are the same sort, you are going to pick one of them. So that's why we are having what? Sort 2. So this becomes our answer. So we are going to take example 2. We are going to look at example 2. 7 sort 3 minus sort 75. So the next, what we are going to do, you can see this one we cannot split it, because this the number in this sort is an odd number. So you cannot split it into, you cannot look for the two multiples. So we are going to bring down that number out like that. So it's 3. Then minus, we are going to look for the two multiples of 75. That one of them must have what? The square root. So the number, what are the two numbers, and when we times it, it will give us 75. We have what? 25 times what? 3. 25 times 3 will give us what? 75. So we are going to say 7 sort 3 minus, we are splitting each of the numbers inside the square root, so they are different sort, minus sort 25 times sort 3. We have what? 7 sort 3 minus square root of 25 will give us what? 5 towards sort 3. And see, the two sorts must be the same, except you are solving for conjugate sort. So now we are going to look at this now. You can see this, we are on minus now. The first one we did is what? Plus. So we are on minus. If as me this question is having plus, we are going to add the two numbers here. But now what is having here is minus. So we are going to subtract by saying 7 minus 5 to sort 3. So 7 minus 5 will give us what? 2 to what? Sort 3. So this is our answer. When you are given any question on sort, first thing you have to do is to look for that two multiples, and when you times it, it will give you that number you are looking for. And as you times it to give the number, you must make sure that one of them has what? The square root. Then if it's an odd number, you just leave it that way, because there's no way the odd number will have two multiples of that number except one and itself. So it is only the even numbers then you look for the two multiples then that will times it to give you that number. Then among it, you must make sure that you are picking the one that has what is square root, because we have different multiples. You see, different multiples that when we multiply, it will give us a particular number, like 12, for example. 4 times 3 will give us 12. 6 times 2 will give us 12. 1 or 12 times 1 will give us 12. But when you are picking out, you are going to pick out the one that has the square root, which is what? 4 times 3. You cannot use 6 times 2 because 6 does not have a square root. So when you are solving for sort, you have to go for the numbers that has what? A square root among the two numbers. One must have a square root. So that is what we did. But if it's an odd number, it's going to be that same value, because odd number does not have any numbers apart from itself and what? 1. So that is why we are bringing down this with 3 down, because 3 is an odd number. So we have a minus. To replace our 75, we have what? We are using what? 25 times 3. But 25 has what? The square root. So you split each of them. Square root of 25 times square root of 3. Bring down the same number. The first one minus square root of 25 will give us what? 5. Then to what? So 3. These two places, you can see they are the same, just like looking for the two factors, you can see the sort are the same. So what you do now, just go straight and bring out the number that are outside, subtract them. Yeah? So we have what? 7 minus 5. That is 7 minus 5. So 7 minus 5 will give us what? 2. Then the two sorts, the square root are the same. So pick one of it. So that is why we have what? 2 sort 3. So that is it. So we are going to look at example 3. So we are going to look at example 3. 3 sort 48 minus sort 75 plus 2 sort 12. So now we are going to bring out our number outside, which is 3. Then look for the two multiples of that you use to multiply to give us 48. Now when you multiply it, when you times it, it must be a single number, and there will be a particular number among it that will give you what? And now those numbers we are going to use is what? 16 times what? 3. 16 times 3 will give us what? 48. So now we come to the next one. So 75. So 75, we have used it before, which is what, 25 times 3. We are going to go down, right? 25 times 3. Plus, bring down your 2. Then look for the two numbers of 12. That we also are going to use what? 4 times 3. Two numbers that when you times it to give you 12, but one of them must have what is sort. The square root what? 2 times 3. So the next we are going to do, we are going to bring out this 3. Then put your times, yeah, because this 3 is attached to your square root, so I'm going to put our times. Then split each of the number inside the bracket, inside the sum, split them into their different square root. That was so 16 times sort 3. Then minus, you do the same here, you split them each, sort 25 times sort 3. Plus, bring down your 2 and put your times, put your times. Then split this one into their different sort 4 times sort 3. Then come down and write your 3 dots. Square root of 16 will give us what? 4. Values as 4 sort 3 minus square root of 25 will give us what? 5. 5 sort 3. Remember, you are bringing, once you get your square root, attach the other number that has this sort, attach it to the one you have gotten your square root already. Then plus, we have this as well, 2 times square root of 4 will give us what? 2 sort 3. So the next one I'm going to do, this times here, this plus here represents what times. So I'm going to say 3 times 4 to give me what? 12 sort 3 minus 5 sort 3 plus 2 times 2 will give us what? 4. So we have this as 4 sort 3. When you get to this stage, you can see now that your sort, which is the square root, they are all the same, and they all have 3. So what you are going to do now, you are going to add or subtract the numbers depending on the sign that you have there, the outside and the outer numbers. So what we have here is your 12 minus 5. 12 minus 5 will give us what? 12 minus 5 will give us 7. Is that not? So 7 plus 4 will give us what? 11. So we have this as what? 11. So the 3 sorts are the same. So I'm going to pick one of it, which is the 3, 11 sort 1, 3. So this is our answer. So that is it. When you are given any question on addition and subtraction of sort, first thing you have to do is to look for the two numbers that when you multiply it, it will give you that number you are given as a question. But once you have the numbers you are picking, it must be a particular one that has a square root. If it does not have a square root, you cannot use it. You only use the number that has a sort, the square root. That is why it is called sort. Because sort is also known as well square root. So when you have done that, the next you have to do is to split each of the numbers. When you have replaced the two numbers with the particular number given to you, you now split them into their various sort. Once you have done that, the next thing for you is to look for the square root or the sort of that particular one that has the square root. Then after getting the square root of that number, attach the one that does not have a square root to by the side, put it by the side of the one that you have gotten the square root. Then if it's plus, you do the same thing. You go put your plus sign and do the same, just like the way we have the other examples here. You can see we split then the square root of 14 give us 2. Attach this square 2 to 4, then plus bring down your 3, then square root of 4 give us 2. Attach this one to it, then you do what? You bring this down, times this by this to give us 6. When you have done that, you add. So if it's minus, you subtract. Once the two sorts are having the same numbers, you pick one of it as your sort. Attach it with the one you have already solved if it's addition to like this one I have plus. So I'm going to say 4 plus 6 to give us what? 10. Then to square root of 2 also 2. So that is all you have to know about solving. The major thing there is for you to know that when you are picking the two numbers you are using for a particular question given to you, you must make sure that the particular number there has a square root. When you have gotten the square root, you split them into their various form, into their various sort, then you simplify further to get your final answer. So thank you.